David Brewster here again with another 3-for-all, and this is 3 Michael Schenker Licks from 2012. Now, for those of you that have been watching my channel over the last year, because I've really only been doing this just over a year, in my mind, I'm still kind of a new channel, on YouTube. But almost a year ago, it was actually March 24th of 2019, I created 3 Michael Schenker Licks. It was one of the early 3-for-all lessons that I created. And that lesson actually sparked my idea and kind of the format that I've been using for all of these lessons. And we've definitely had quite a few, since then. And since I'm approaching, I'm like 2 days shy of the 1 year kind of 3-for-all, moment. But I thought I wanted to pay tribute to Michael again, and I actually found this really good footage of him recently where I was like, well, yeah, I'm going to do, kind of like a 1 year anniversary special or whatever. And there's tons of stuff you can learn from Michael Schenker. I mean, he's a complete, guitar legend. And that goes all the way back to, the early albums with Scorpions and UFO, Michael Schenker Group, MSG, tons of compilations. He toured with Rat, after Robin Crosby, became ill. So, I mean, there's a whole bunch of legacy, and his influence is very far reaching. One of the big names, of course, is Randy Rhoads. Randy Rhoads loved Michael Schenker. And if you listen to Michael, you can hear, how he influenced Randy. Some of the diminished arpeggios and trills, and some of the licks and runs that Randy Rhoads, frequented. He kind of borrowed and copied, some of those ideas from Michael. So he's definitely, a legendary guitarist. He's influenced, thousands, if not tens of thousands of famous players and not as famous players, but he's a world-renowned, guitarist. He's a, just there's something about him, especially when you're watching live footage and he kind of gets that pose, when he's really like kind of in the moment, or he kind of gets lost and he kind of holds the V a certain way, and he has this stance, he's kind of hunched over it, and when he's really into it and he's just rocking, it's magic. I can't think of another guitarist that hits like that and sounds like that. It's Michael Schenker. So anyway, I don't want to talk too much about him because I did discuss Michael Schenker in the lesson I made about a year ago, but there's some really cool licks, in this lesson, so I definitely want to just dive right in. So here we go. Okay, in this footage that I found, I think it was a concert in 2012 in Los Angeles, and at the very beginning, it looks like there's still a roadie, on stage, and there's Michael, and then he grabs his guitar, and he holds it, with his right hand, and he kind of arcs the guitar up in the air, and he starts trilling, and he plays this crazy lick. So here's a clip of the opening. I think this was actually the beginning of his concert, and it's brilliant. It like immediately it captures your attention. It's like, whoa, listen to what he's doing. And of course it's flashy because he's holding the V, up in the air. He's kind of arched back. Well, here's the clip, like the opening of this the solo. Really cool. All right, the first lick is actually the very next thing that Michael plays after his kind of flashy introduction for that concert. And it's this phrased aharmonic minor idea. Right in the middle, he hits the low E string, and he actually bends the neck about a half step and then finishes the phrase. Something like this. And there you can see we're basically starting with these open string hammer-ons. And then he shifts into another position right there. Something like that. And then right there, jump over to the G and grab, C, B, C. And then slide up to E. And that's where he hits the low E string open. So the first part. Hit the low E, and it just kind of, bends the neck. So you want to be careful if you're going to actually try doing that, because I'm pushing against the fretboard of the neck, and then I'm pushing here against the body. And I'm also using a Les Paul, so I don't want to go too far. You just want the note to kind of dip. Now if you have a tremolo or a bar on your guitar, just barely dip it. Just barely push down. You don't want to do a big dive bomb like, eruption or something like that. Just a slight dip with your bar, or a slight, bend of the neck. And right there he slides into F there on the high E string. And then comes down. And he also ends it with this really wide vibrato, which is cool. Very expressive there. Oh, cool lick. So here's the clip of Michael playing this. Right up next, we've got a B diminished arpeggio idea with some trilling and some position shifting, and you can definitely catch, what Randy Rhoads kind of tapped into, from listening to Michael Schenker, because Randy definitely played lots of licks and phrases like this. But this is coming from the source. This is Michael Schenker, and Michael's been playing licks like this since the 70s. So it looks and sounds like this. You can see we're sliding in and grabbing this A flat and then a B and a D, and we're trilling. And he kind of starts the trill again, and then he starts moving up through the arpeggio. And there you're kind of stepping through it. And I like how he moves like way higher, kind of skips over a position and jumps all the way, to the top right there. Really cool lick. So here's a clip of him playing that live. The next lick is this cool, like kind of rhythmic, scale sequencing, and in the beginning it has this cool, kind of dark riff. It almost reminds me like the Munsters or something like that, like the theme from the Munsters. But it kind of flirts with E harmonic minor, and then he finally kind of falls into, E Aeolian or natural minor, and something like this. Really cool. And I like the beginning. Like I said, it kind of reminds me of the Munsters theme for some reason. I mean, that part doesn't really remind me of the Munsters. It's that first part. That part. And then after he does that phrase, and once again, wide vibrato there on that D note on the A string. And then he starts doing some really common, he does two different sets of sequences here. And it's, shifting to E Aeolian, like I said earlier. And he's doing this one first. So one more time there. And when you get to the C note, you're going to grab D and then come down fours. When you get to that F sharp right there, then it almost kind of feels like you're going to a pentatonic phrase right here. And then just walk down. Something like that. I really like that lick though. So here's a clip of him playing this live. Here's a bonus lick from this live footage, and I kind of teased you in the very beginning of this video because I showed the crazy lick when he was reaching, kind of rearing back, and I'm going to show you that lick now, and I just wanted to kind of fool you to make you think I wasn't going to show it. Now, I'm not going to perform it the way he did. If I tried to arch back, especially playing a Les Paul, I'm probably going to, hurt my back or fall out of the chair or something. So let's not worry, let's not worry about impressing the neighbors or impressing your cat or whatever. I mean, if you want to try that at home, just be really careful because that's very unorthodox. It's very strange, not normal. And you might want to work up to doing something very showy and, rocking like that. So we're just going to play in a normal, fashion. And it's up to you if you want to, kind of hike back and, like I said, impress your neighbors or whoever. But it starts, well, I'm going to play it first. Something like that. It's very unusual. And you may notice that after I did the trills in the beginning, I didn't pick anything. And of course, Michael didn't pick anything. In the clip, he's holding on to his guitar with his right hand, and he did everything left hand, which is very hard. So I'm going to go through this really, really slow. The trills, I don't have to really do slowly. I mean, there we're basically just trilling between E and A. And then when it moves, he's trilling between C and E. And on the clip, you can also see he's not using his pinky. So if you want to be authentic, you could, stretch up there and use your third finger, which that's a big stretch, your index and third. Now, a second ago, I used my pinky because, I'm not Michael Schenker. Even though I just kind of did it there with my third finger. But you can decide, if you don't like using the third finger, you can definitely use your pinky there. And then for the other shape, it's a little bit closer together. But even that, that's a good stretching and kind of warm up, and start slow if you're not used to doing big stretches and trills like that. Okay, now this is basically A Aeolian, is kind of what we're flirting with. And I'm going to go through this, I'm just going to walk through it. And at first, I'm actually going to pick just to kind of help you see, and then I'll talk about how to play it without picking. So the first time, we're going to do it really slow. Okay, one more time. Really cool, and it's really hard to do without picking like this. Also, if you watch carefully in the clip, you can see he's holding the guitar with his right hand, but he's also muting, dampening the strings with the additional fingers with his right hand or his pick hand. And I tried playing with that, but I really couldn't get it to feel right. So I just started kind of working on it without muting like that, which does make it a little bit harder, but with some practice, you can kind of get used to doing it. It's kind of sloppy. Let me try that again. But here's a clip of him playing that live, which is really cool. Alright, that's going to wrap this look at 3 Michael Schenker licks from 2012. And, once again, definitely, I'm a huge Michael Schenker fan. And when I was younger, he was kind of before my time. I'm older, but I'm not old or whatever. Of course, I'm not young either anymore. But he really kind of hit his prime before I'd even picked up a guitar. And at that time, when I was reading guitar magazines and talking to people, his name popped up everywhere, and when I got into Randy Rhoads, I noticed Randy talked about Michael Schenker, and it made me curious. And for some reason, when I was a kid too, but for some reason when I was younger, I just associated him with the Scorpions, because that's what they usually said, and then there's Rudolph Schenker, Michael Schenker, and I thought, yeah, I like the Scorpions, and I didn't know MSG, I didn't know UFO, I didn't know any of that stuff. I just thought, okay, he played with Scorpions, you know, and then a little bit later, you know, I had a buddy that was really into UFO, and I started hearing, you know, Strangers in the Night and some of those albums, and it was like, this is Michael Schenker? I was like, okay, that doesn't sound anything like the Scorpions, you know, maybe a touch or a hair, but I thought, okay, and then by the time I heard MSG and Michael Schenker Group, you know, I was a fan. I thought, okay, this guy is phenomenal. And as I've gotten older, you know, through the years, it's like every year my appreciation and respect for Michael Schenker grows. And I'm a bigger fan now than I was technically a year ago when I made, you know, the three for all for Michael Schenker. I mean, I'm definitely, you know, I was a fan then. But since that time, I've listened to him more, and I've been kind of, you know, fishing around on YouTube and on the internet, you know, looking for clips. And, you know, he recently was on a tour last year and stuff. So, you know, it's like, yeah, that respect just keeps growing. And really, there isn't anybody I can think of that sounds like him. Now, there are people that are copying things that he did, but really, he has such a unique style, tone, approach, sound, and he just has this kind of edge on your, you know, edge of your seat, exciting, you know, guitar approach where, you know, whenever he takes a solo or he's just jamming or whatever, you know, it just makes me stop whatever I'm doing and I pay attention. Where it's like, okay, I want to hear him rip, you know, and then he starts ripping. So, great player. You know, obviously, if you're already a fan, you know what I'm talking about. And if you haven't really heard Michael Schenker, you know, go check out some Michael Schenker. You know, go back and listen to some UFO and, you know, MSG. And he's appeared, you know, on compilations and some guest appearances on albums. You know, really exciting guitarist. So, leave some feedback and some comments. Please subscribe to Late Night Lessons, and I'll be back before you know it with more content and material. Thank you.